it's Arsenette from Rambling Regan, and we are still alive! It's been a very crazy, now almost 2 months. We are back. This is Videogame Hangout. I am here with William and Don. William, how are you doing?
Good, I guess. We're here, right? We're not dead. It's all good. Just hanging.
Don?
I'm moderately neato.
What, Carlin?
Why not?
Yeah.
From when he was funny.
Either way, it's been a while since we've done these podcasts, and we were doing fine. Everything was set to record in January, and then it's been really, really busy and lots of life things, and I'm gonna be moving soon, and other family emergencies and pet emergencies that are not mine. And, actually, Don, you went, what was it, business meeting for, conference.
Yeah,
and so
North Division meeting in Connecticut.
Yeah, so we were, let's just say it's been a little weird. So finally get an opportunity just get this done. What have you been doing, William, when in terms of video games? I've been seeing a couple things on Twitter. And did you finally get it working?
Yeah, so for Christmas, my brother got me a Virtual Boy as a gift. And it was in relatively good condition. It was in the box. The box is amazing. It is peak 90s, which is convenient. Because the Virtual Boy came out in 1995. So
okay.
It is great. I've been wanting one for a while, and now I got one. But nothing's ever perfect in life.
What was wrong with it?
Oh boy. Okay, so here's the thing. I gotta stop saying that. The Virtual Boy is over 20 years old at this point.
Don't remind me.
Yeah. Some things kind of go after a while. So basically, for those who don't know, the Virtual Boy was a 32-bit gaming device that Nintendo released that allows for 3D graphics when you're playing the game. It actually uses stereoscopic 3D, which is similar to what the 3DS uses for its 3D effect. The technology for 95 is actually really interesting. The way it works is when you look into the eyepieces, you're not looking at LCD screens. You're actually looking at a pair of mirrors that are rapidly rotating. Vibrating, I should say. And then at a 90-degree angle from where your eyes are, there are these two LCD lines. They're not even full screens, they're lines. And they're, zapping all these pictures really quick. And because of the vibration of the mirrors, it creates essentially the illusion that there's a full screen in front of you when you're looking at it.
Okay.
It's actually really fascinating the way it works. And you might, and as obviously one of the more infamous things about the Virtual Boy is the fact that it's red and it's a monochrome display, and it's pretty much various shades of red. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is pretty interesting. Is that it's a bit of it was Nintendo wanted to make something that was a bit more cost friendly, in terms of LCD displays, but also because back then LCDs were very limited. You couldn't even have the color blue wasn't even available back then in 95. So they had to go with something monochromatic, and I guess at the time red gave you the best range of shades for what LCDs could do, so that's why they went with red. The problem is that the way it works is the LCD is on a board that connects to a ribbon cable that connects into the system itself. And that's where all the power and all that is connected to.
Right.
The problem is the part where the ribbon cable attaches to the LCD board is glued on to the board. It is not soldered.
Ew.
And after 20 years, that glue starts to
Break.
it starts to undo itself. And so shortly after I had gotten the Virtual Boy, it was starting to go on me. And so what proceeded was about a month of troubleshooting and panic and impatientness and almost ruining the whole thing for myself. So basically there's this home remedy that I saw online that involves heating up the connections and reattaching the glue. I saw, if you're familiar with the YouTube channel, the Ben Heck Show, he actually, on one of his episodes, he actually made a clip that he 3D printed for the Virtual Boy where he heated up and create a more permanent connection where it gets more pressure to keep them on.
Okay.
And basically the idea is you heat up the connections, you press down on it, you put some tape around it. That's like the home solution, and it's supposed to stay together. The thing is, it wasn't working for me. After like hours of trying, I just couldn't get it to work. It says you should be able to get it to work in your oven. And then in my frustration, I came up with the idea, oh, hey, my work owns a heat gun. I will borrow it. And that just made things a bit worse. You
put a heat gun on a circuit board.
Look, I wasn't thinking.
Just wanted to make sure I heard that right. Go ahead.
I had it on low.
So it was only 1,000 degrees instead of 3,000.
I was told it only gets to 500.
Well, I'm sorry. That's so much better.
Anyway.
Hey, for the record, I didn't know either.
So
I've never actually played with one before.
A heat gun? Yeah, you don't want
No, I have heat gunned. What's it called?
Virtual
Virtual Boy. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I hired a guy on eBay to solder the connections to the board.
Cool.
And even though it almost didn't work because I may have damaged the actual cable casing of the ribbon cable.
Right.
He was able to fix it, and everything works perfectly fine.
Cool.
Oh,
So here's the thing. So to anyone who gets themselves a Virtual Boy, just pay someone to solder it for you. It cost me $45 plus shipping. It's worth the money.
Well, thank you to whoever it was that did it.
Yeah. Oh god, I was so relieved that I hadn't royally screwed up. Cause you know that feeling when you get impatient and you just stop thinking.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's.
I know it a little too well.
Yeah. So anyway, in the process of trying to fix this thing, I've been buying some Virtual Boy games.
How many do you have?
I own 8 currently. Now, for those of you... Now, okay, without looking, take a guess how many Virtual Boy games there are officially released between US and Japan combined.
I would say about 30.
yeah, I'm going to say 20.
Don wins. It's 22.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
It wasn't many, I remember
No,
that.
I know there wasn't many. That's what beats. As soon as you said between Japan and US, because I figured that most of them were Japanese.
There are... Yeah, so the Virtual Boy was actually never released in Europe. In the US, 3 of those games are exclusive, and Japan, 8 of those games are exclusive.
Okay.
And then, now I own a handful of them. My brother included the game Galactic Pinball, which it's a pinball game. It's fun. It's a fun little pinball game. I own Mario Clash, which is essentially it's like a new spin on the original Mario Brothers arcade game. Just to let everyone know, this is I kind of like this is like first impressions of everything. I played it for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Mario Clash, it's fun. One thing I will say is that the actual 3D effect on Virtual Boy games is actually really good looking. Like the actual effect is really nice when you're looking at it.
I think it will bug the heck out of my eyes between the red and the 3D, because I can't even look at it at a 3DS.
Okay, well, I can't like I haven't played it enough to really say that the red affects me yet.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that did bother me was just because I don't blink when I play video games a lot.
You get dry eye syndrome.
Yeah, yeah. But that's not even the Virtual Boy fault. That's just me playing video games in general.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
There was a friend of ours that used to do that all the time, and he wore contacts, and his contact would literally dry out and pop out of his eye, and he would catch it midair and put it right back in. It was Josh.
Yeah. With his elite ninja contact snatching
It was
skills.
so funny. I'm like,
See, Mr.
was
Miyagi
that?
just had Ralph Macchio grab a fly with chopsticks.
He catches his
Josh
contact in
upped it
air
by-
and didn't miss a beat in whatever game it was.
Not
he was
only
playing.
clutching it between two fingers in a no-look, but then reinserting one-handed while playing.
I couldn't believe
It
what
was
I was
impressive.
watching. So you had the dry eye.
Ooh,
now you
wasn't
have
that
it. Okay, so the way the Virtual Boy sits, it's basically like a goggles type thing, but on a stand.
It's on a tripod.
yeah. It's got. Oh no, it's only 2 legs. So.
Oh, it's a bipod.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I
Yeah.
said a stand.
Yes.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, it sits on a stand. The power actually connects to the controller, which connects to the Virtual Boy.
Okay. How short is the
there's
cable
a-
to the thing?
It's long enough so where I can comfortably hold it under the table when I play.
Okay. Yeah. That I would suspect, especially since you're basically forced to be right underneath it.
Yeah. It could have been a little longer, but it's fine for the way I play. But yeah. The controller is unique in itself because it's the only controller, at least from Nintendo, that I can think of where it has 2 D-pads. Yeah. And one of the games I have is Teleroboxer, which is like it's a first person fighting game. That uses both of the D-pads when you're playing to control each of your hands. It's really interesting. It looks great though. I like that. There's a Red Alarm, which I have, which is a 3D space shooter, kind of like Star Fox. It uses a wireframe graphic design. That one is pretty advanced in terms of its gameplay for the time. The one downside is that its draw distance not as big as I would have liked, but it's actually pretty fun from what I've played. Mario Tennis was the pack-in title, at least in the US. I don't know about Japan. It's weird because it's a game where you actually need the 3D effect to play. Because originally, when I first played it, one of the eyes was out, so I was essentially playing in 2D. Because of the aspect, I guess the perspective of where the camera is, you need that 3D effect in order to properly gauge the depth of when the ball is coming at you.
Okay.
It's very different from all the other Mario Tennises, just because of where the camera is.
Okay.
The big game that I wanted was Virtual Boy Warriorland.
I have heard so many stories about that.
Yeah, me too. Everything I've heard about Virtual Boy Warriorland is that it's a great game that no one's played because it was on the Virtual Boy.
Yeah.
And for the life of me, I don't understand why Nintendo has never put Virtual Boy games on the 3DS.
Don't know. Could it be just one of those weird rights issues?
I mean,
I'm still waiting for freaking Dr. Mario.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the full issue with that. I don't know. Maybe if it's an emulation issue. I don't know.
Well,
but
who was the one that actually made it? Wasn't it a co-pro with another company that ended up going under?
No. It's. Are you talking about the game or the Virtual Boy itself?
The Virtual Boy, because it's probably tied to that.
Oh, that's Gunpei Yokoi,
Okay.
the creator of the Game Boy.
Okay.
Who was working in Nintendo, so I imagine, because the Virtual Boy appears in other games and as like cameos and stuff. So
Okay.
I don't think it's the right issue. But yeah, Warriorland from what I played is actually pretty great. Between the music and just the visuals, and it's like the first Warriorland game in terms of gameplay, which means it's pretty good. It's a pretty solid platformer that uses it uses forward and background and foreground 3D spacing because of the effect. So from what I played, it's actually it's pretty good. If you like Wario Land, I can understand why everyone likes VB Wario Land. And I also own Virtual League Baseball, but I haven't played it yet because I actually have that in shrink wrap, so I haven't opened it yet.
Cool.
It was actually really cheap considering it was new.
Yeah, very, very rare to get those.
And the last one that I have is actually a Japanese game called V Tetris. Not to be confused with 3D Tetris, the US exclusive Virtual Boy Tetris game.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Know what I mean?
No,
actually, they're literally completely different games.
Seriously, there are two different Tetris games on the Virtual Boy.
Wow.
One is US only, one is Japan only.
So they have like completely different mechanics and stuff?
Yes.
Wow.
V Tetris is more traditional Tetris.
I'd probably love that.
You would like that better. It has like this weird, almost kind of like cylinder mode, where you can like essentially move the play field left and right as you're playing the game. It really doesn't add that much, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it's standard Tetris. It's just standard Tetris with a 3D graphical effect. Right. It's really not that 3D, to be honest. Right. 3D Tetris, which is the one I don't own, which is actually this one of two games that were released in '96. Mm-hmm. But actually, was the last game ever released for the Virtual Boy. 3D Tetris is essentially it's Tetris top down. Like you're imagine you're actually dropping down on on a flat plane.
Oh, that'd be really weird.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it looks really weird.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so that's what I have so far. From what I played, honestly, it's pretty fun. I'm so glad I finally own it. It's great. It looks great. I've been trying to see if I can reasonably get a complete collection of Virtual Boy games because there's only 22 of them. Maybe I can get a US only complete collection. Right. Japanese complete is going to be a little tricky because some of those Japanese exclusive games are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
The most expensive being a game called Virtual Lab, which came out pretty late in the Virtual Boy's lifetime, and it's $1,300 on eBay.
Wow.
Yeah, the funny thing is, if you ever get to Japan,
it's probably cheaper if I find it there.
Well, if you get a chance to go to Akiba, you can probably. I mean, it's probably going to be expensive, but not that kind of expensive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the ironic thing is that the most expensive Virtual Boy game is undoubtedly considered the worst of the bunch.
Sure, why not?
Probably because they had the least amount of them, so it's just basically scarcity.
I do remember one shop we went in Akihabara that had a Virtual Boy and a bunch of games.
Yeah,
and it was all in a display case. It was not just laying out open, but
they had stuff that they were probably older than me, and some of them being facetious, but it was just like when plastic is out for long, where it starts getting like that dull sheen.
Oh yeah.
Everything was wrapped in that color. I'm like, you've been trying to sell this thing for 30 years, and the answer is probably yes.
Yeah. So collecting is going to be interesting. What's weird is that there are some games where it's cheaper to buy the US version of a Virtual Boy game, like Mario Tennis and Wario Land. Right. And then there's some games where it's cheaper to buy the Japanese version, like Panic Bomber and Jack Brothers. So, I don't know. I'll see if I can eventually get as many Virtual Boy games as I can get. But so far, I'm liking what I'm getting.
It kind of reminded me of a friend of ours. This is now years ago. He'd gotten a Turbo Grafx.
Turbo Express.
Turbo Grafx.
Oh, wow.
And
that's really good.
So he got it actually pretty cheap. He got like a couple of games and whatever. And so he's telling Don. And Don starts laughing because in the corner of his room was a box with, like, still in box all games. I don't know, what do you
Yeah,
had,
I
like
had
30
the-
or 40 games?
No, there weren't that many games for the system.
Okay, so 20, 30?
I had the Turbo Grafx 16 with the AV booster so I could use the S-Video output. And probably about 10 to 15 games.
I thought you had a lot more than that.
No, not for that. But he just basically opened the box and he looked at it and went,
Because you know how much they cost on eBay?
yes, do you know why they're still in their box?
But yeah, like, well, in general, I think there's only been 2 games that we have ever returned or traded, and we always have all the originals.
The one was a PS1 game where you had to program these robots on the moon or some planet. And it was basically a programming simulator, teaching you how the logic of programming movement. And I just couldn't get it. Couldn't get my head around it. It was just a little too obtuse, so we traded that one. And what was the other? I think it was Battle Arena Toshinden.
Yeah.
Was the other one that I traded in.
Really?
And they're the only 2 games that I have ever traded in my entire life.
Yep.
Hey, want to hear? Wow, like you literally segued into a thing I was going to segue into. So thank you for that. Speaking of Battle Arena Toshinden, did you know this is something I just learned this week? There is a version of Battle Arena Toshinden on the Tiger R Zone.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yes, for those of you who don't know, the Tiger R Zone was Tiger Electronics' attempt to rip off the Virtual Boy.
Wow. That was what, 97? 6.
It somewhere, right? It had to be after the Virtual Boy, but yeah. Basically, Tiger Electronics, basically they took their concept of the the individual LCD games, and they applied it to a head strap that you could attach cartridges into, and it reflects into a mirror that you can look at while you're playing. And there is one of those games for the R Zone is Battle Arena Toshinden.
I have I watch a lot of like historical type videos, especially on YouTube, where they start going through like the history of things and whatever. And that's the only reason why I knew that thing existed. There's like all the different variations of and it was strange because that little boom only lasted maybe 1 or 2 years, and then it was painfully obvious that nobody wanted it, and then it just died a glorious death.
Well, that was up there like the Wonder Swan was going to be the next big handheld, and it just totally crashed and burned.
Yeah, it's a shame. I would have liked it if the Wonder Swan came over here. It looked cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting concept. It just never took off.
Which one was the one? It was like a disc thing, and it looked.
What?
It was a disc type system. It was extremely expensive.
That was Panasonic made it.
Yeah.
3DO.
Yes.
Yeah, 3DO.
Yeah, I remember going over somebody's friend's house, and I was like, "Oh, he has such and such." And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I'm like, "How expensive was this thing?"
3DO was Laserdisc based, if I remember correctly, because Panasonic.
I thought that was the I thought that was the CDI.
I'm not sure.
This was smaller. This looked like an actual compact disc.
I think they shared that license with Pioneer, if I remember correctly.
Maybe. I'm actually not too familiar with 3DO.
It was an okay system. I mean, I played with it a little bit, but it was just it was kind of like buying an SNK system or a Neo Geo. Neo Geo was an arcade board. There were 2 versions, but the main one was the arcade version of it, which was in 1992, 93 maybe. It was $1,000, which was a lot of money in 1992.
A lot of money in 1992.
Especially for a game system. I mean, you were buying Macs for less than that at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it was the arcade board at home.
Yes.
And the games were the arcade ROMs. The only difference was the case they came in.
Yeah.
They were huge. I've seen those.
Massive,
yeah.
Well, it's because all the chips they had to put on it. The whole thing was solid state.
Mm-hmm.
The system, if I remember, much like the Nintendo, had no onboard memory. It was all contained in the game carts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which kept the cost of the hardware down for arcade owners. Because you just get a cabinet and you would just get new graphics that would slot in. and then you would slot the game card in, and the game card came with how much RAM it needed to run that game, and that was it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, I
So-
I missed a lot of that system because I didn't have any at home, and the only time that I was able to play with any systems was when my nephews were growing up. And so one of the things that we used to do, because the only way that we would get them to not act up is have actual punishments that meant something. So what I would do is,
What a novel concept.
I know. So I would sit there and go, all right, I'm taking the NES home with me. And I would literally pick it up, pull it from the television, put it in the bag, and walk away. And they wouldn't see me for like 2-3 weeks or whatever. Came back and they were fine. I did that with every system, the NES, SNES, and the and I think it was the no, those were the only two because I ended up buying the N64. By that point I had met Don and he had every system known to man, and so
Not entirely true, but
very, very close. But I had, until I met Don, I'd never actually physically owned any video game systems. Played plenty in other people's houses, but never myself. So, yeah. Let's just say we got married very quickly because we were both geeks.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'd marry Don too if he had all the gaming systems.
He still has.
right.
Oh, it was funny because we're in the process of moving. In fact, hopefully by the next podcast, I will be in our new place, and we will be in our new place, the both of us. And yeah, I know.
Thanks for including me. I'm just paying for it.
Hey, Mimi. So, anyway, as we were packing and stuff, like what we ended up doing preemptively is try to get all the systems together. So, like, we just packed all the PS2 stuff. So we have boxes of just PS2 games. We already did that with the Dreamcast, with the Dreamcast in it. We already did that with the PlayStation 1.
Well, the systems are still in the entertainment center in the bedroom, but
Yeah, but the idea being is we kept. That's why I realized I'm like, oh my goodness, he still has his Atari,
actually,
with
I
the
don't. That's
games?
at my parents' house, the 2600.
but you have the games.
Still at my parents' house.
Okay, so that's still there. But still, it was just the idea, and I'm looking at it. It was like a kid in the candy shop going, look at all this stuff!
So let me take a moment and interject the financial ruin that can be visited upon you should you marry someone that is just as passionate about your hobbies as you are. Because the question is not, should we buy it? The question is, will we be able to eat this month? And while we're both a little overweight, we could probably skip a few meals and maybe some ramen.
Speaking of, and I'll use this as a segue, we weren't planning to get this game. In fact, we even downloaded the beta, and I don't know what happened where in the beta something just didn't click for us. And so we ended up watching, I'm getting there.
Time was the problem.
So the bigger issue was, well, for me, I didn't even download it to play it for myself. I never even touched it. But we were watching, and I know you mentioned, you've heard me say that I always follow Maximilian Dude, and they were playing Monster Hunter World, and it looked so much fun. And then so finally they go through this entire series and whatever. And then just like out of nowhere, he mentioned something that addressed my big concern with a lot of these AAA games of these days. It has 60 hours of offline play. So it's not like a Destiny 2. It's not like
Or Destiny 1.
well, it's not like Destiny. It's not like Overwatch, where the entire gameplay is multiplayer. It isn't. You can do the whole game online, so it's like a big RPG. So needless to say, we bought it on day one, knowing that it was like that, and we haven't stopped playing. Well, between the time that we have, because we have very little time these days. But I love Monster Hunter World. This is the first Monster Hunter that we've played with. a friend of ours, which I've mentioned before, Josh, with the magical, catching contact dude. He has been a Monster Hunter person for a long time. He brought over the one that that was in the Wii, and he has one I think for the 3DS,
something like that.
and so I have no idea if this is the first that's been on the PS4. I have no idea.
No.
But
Well,
this
I mean,
is the first
technically,
one that,
well, technically, it's the first one on the PS4, but Monster Hunter originally started as a PlayStation
okay.
2 game. So
Okay, I may have seen it like on a demo disc or those long dead things.
Yeah.
I miss those demo discs. I still have most of my demo
Yeah,
discs.
essentially, Nintendo and Sony have been bouncing the Monster Hunter franchise back and forth depending on who can sweet talk Capcom the most.
But I love this. I love what they did with it. Even someone like me that is brand new to the series, I would consider myself brand new to the series because I've never owned a Monster Hunter game. All I know is that it's a grind heavy and the controls can be a little challenging. And so going into that, I was expecting it. And what I really love about it is that each of the weapons have clear advantages and disadvantages, and they're all extremely different from each other. So it's not like a quick palette swap or whatever. I mean, it plays differently. So I was able to take at least a little bit of time to find what kind of weapon that I liked. And so I'm starting off with the little baby, sword and shield, which is at least so I can get my feet underneath me. Don's changed twice already.
Yeah, I went from great sword to hammer to bow and stopped at bow.
Okay, 3 times. Yeah. And it's just we play it so differently, and I love they have something called exploration mode where you can literally just plop onto the planet and fish if you want to, run around. The monsters are still there, and just you can do all kinds. If you wanted to pick up a mission right there and then, you don't have to go all the way back to town. They did such a good job, because I remember even playing demos and stuff like that it was a little too clunky, and they just did such a good job with this game. So
yeah, I've heard a lot about it because I follow the Super Best Friends.
Okay.
Who they're probably partially responsible for getting Max to play Monster Hunter because they're friends with Max. Pat of the trio, Pat is like the big Monster Hunter fan. So like every week for like weeks now on the podcast, he's just been talking about how awesome Monster Hunter is and all the different systems and techniques and all that, and like the dude, like I don't even play Monster Hunter because I just haven't bought it because I don't have a PS4. So maybe I'll get it on PC, or if I ever get a PS4. But
and you don't have an Xbox One either.
No, I do not. But the game's also not on Xbox One, so I can't get it.
No, it is.
It is.
Yep. Xbox One and PS4. PC was announced, but there's no date for that.
Fall is what they're hinting at now.
Yeah, it's definitely on both systems.
Oh, wow. I guess that goes to show how.
Don't worry about it. I don't have an Xbox One, and I never will.
No, I was just saying in terms of mind space, how poorly Microsoft's doing. That's a conversation of itself. But,
we can do that another time.
That's a whole podcast. On its own.
I literally did not know it was on Xbox One. Wow.
Yeah.
I thought Sony had snatched up a quasi exclusivity.
Just about all the streamers I've seen are all playing on PS4, Pro for the most part.
Yeah, we just have a regular PS4. We do not have a Pro. But even then, it still looks freaking gorgeous on the PS4. Oh, yeah. So
everything I hear about Monster Hunter World just makes it sound great. And
that was a straight up impulse buy.
Yeah. And the good news is the game is the best-selling Monster Hunter game of all time. So,
well, I'm happy for them because they did a really good job. I remember reading articles and people quoting the a couple of the quotes where they were really nervous. So when the beta had come out, they actually sat and watched streams because they wanted to see the reactions of these people and how they reacted to it, and everybody had so much fun. You know, one thing that I like that frustrated me when we were playing like Destiny and those types of games that have just a persistent world.
Right.
You had to be with somebody to do, you know, raids and whatever. With this one, you can do the whole thing by yourself, and they give you you can get a little cat, and your cat does things for you.
Yes.
It's
Palico.
Yes.
oh my god.
Yes.
And so, but when you're a multiplayer, you can do it 2 people, 3 people, or 4 people. You're not married to, okay, I'm waiting half an hour because I'm waiting for that one person. Another game that everybody keeps, that at least I keep equating this to, was Evolve. And it took me until just a few
with
hours.
The critical difference of it actually has more content.
Yeah, I know. But Evolve was basically the same type of thing where you had 4 people going up against another player, which was, you know, the one big monster. And it looked great, and people played it for a month. And then, okay, that's a great party game. And it had nothing else past that.
Yeah, Evolve was a great concept that they never managed to flesh out properly.
And I love how the online is with this. You can pop in and out with 0 issues. If all of a sudden, okay, you know, William, do you have like maybe half hour or so you want to, you know, go and you know, capture or kill this one monster, whatever. Sure.
Sure, Arsenette, let's go mess it up.
Yeah, and so we do that and done. And then come right back out and you can go back to what you were doing, what I was doing. It's not like this long commitment. I mean, you can play for hours if you've seen plenty of streamers and whatnot talking about it. But it's something like when Dom plays Diablo.
Yeah, it reminds me of Diablo, not in the gameplay, because Diablo is a different type of gameplay, obviously, for anybody that's ever played it. But they both offer the same drop-in, drop-out type of mechanic. Unlike a traditional MMO RPG that you would play, you're never getting behind. You know, you may not be able to do certain content yet because you don't have the gear, but that doesn't mean there's nothing for you to do. It's not like you stall out and, oh, I can't do anything because I don't have the gear. Mm-hmm. No, you can just continue to work towards what you need to fight the big bads and get there at your own time. I mean, I've played 100% solo since the game came out.
Ditto.
And I'm just taking my time and enjoying the ride because there's no one to keep up with. It doesn't matter.
And I as we get older, the more life gets busy. And I mean, I'm gonna be video gaming until I die. And I like this where it's not like, oh, I have to wait for more people to just finish this. Or what happens many times, what ended up killing a lot of our Destiny was our friends would play on the Xbox One, and the ones that used to play on the PS4 of the same game, they stopped playing. So we lost who it was that we can play with, and we were stuck. So with this, I mean, I'm sure it's your the exclusivity is, you know, for all the people on PS4, whatever, but it doesn't feel like I'm wasting my time. I can still do the whole thing by myself, or 1 extra person, or 2 extra people, without being stuck to this is the set amount. Like, you'll never be able to finish this if you don't have X amount of people to do it.
All of the content in the game can be soloed.
All of it.
That's the whole point. There is no gating of you need 4 people or you can't do this quest. No, it can all be soloed. It just comes down to your skill at that point. And the game will scale up to a certain point. Max had talked about this at length, and he said, when you go into a 4-player hunt, whatever type it happens to be, as long as all 4 people know their job, which is delineated by the weapon they carry, and they do them well, they don't have to be super elite players, they just need to do them, you know, competently, you'll be fine. But if you're in a 4-player and you've got a couple of people that are a little under-geared for what you're trying to do, or maybe are on new weapons, you're going to have a really bad time with that, and solo might be easier. So solo is 100% doable, depending on your skill.
But they also have tiers, so you can do the easier tier, the middle tier,
right,
whatever.
But when you start getting into the higher hunter rank stuff, you're going to need the appropriate skills solo to be able to deal with it. But Max even mentioned it. That he goes, it's not as bad when you're in 4-player. The monsters hit harder. There are a lot of instant kill mechanics that, believe me, they're plenty telegraphed. You'll learn when to get out of the way if you're paying attention.
I'm getting better.
But it's nice that you can still see everything the game has to offer solo, so that if you play at a weird time, I had a friend that we played EverQuest 2 with, who was a professional chef. So a lot of times his playtime, and he was on the Eastern Seaboard, I think he was in New York, he couldn't play till 3 a.m. Well, all of our guild, except for 1 or 2 guys, were never online. So for him, he always missed everything that we did. With this game, you don't have that issue.
I do find it funny that someone had mentioned online, if you're doing something solo and you get to a monster that's giving you problems, you can actually pull an SOS flare, and that will open up that instance for people to come in and kill things. It's like, if you ever want to see something really funny, just put up an SOS flare and see 3 Japanese people go over there and beat the crap out of this thing. I just thought it was... I haven't tried it yet. I've seen videos of it. It is really funny. So I think it was... Demon Souls had that. Bloodborne has that. Those types of things.
That was a little different. Yeah, you can bring in somebody to help you, and of course the monsters do scale. Those games also offered the invasion mechanic, where somebody else could come in as an antagonist instead of as a help, which kind of soured me because I really don't care for that.
But this is all co-op, and I like that. And I think that I'm also losing my my taste for PvP. Just in general, it's just so, like, games like Overwatch, while incredibly fun, I would rather fight monsters, which is probably why I loved the online of Mass Effect 3 of all games. They had a fantastic one because it was all co-op. So you went with a team and it was all horde mode, and it was great. And I wish more games were like that, because I'm tired of fighting people. Do you know what I mean? And it's just, and I wasn't that bad at it. I mean, when we did Halo Reach, I loved it. It's just, after a while, I just, can you just, like, stand on the other side? Just
the problem that you have is the same problem that I have, and this comes from being an old fogey. The concept of sportsmanship is largely dead.
Yeah.
In a lot of the younger generation, not just in America, I think kind of everywhere. So, getting on a team with somebody and everybody working towards the same goal, you've got too many people that just like to grief, too many people that actively troll. I remember some Halo Reach incidents, where I don't even want to get into it. It just was, it's not even a rage quit. It's more like an utter disappointment quit of, I'm done with this. I'm out. Forget it. Not worth my time. Especially as you get older. And I don't want to demean the younger folks, but listening to some 13-year-old squeak the battle cry of your mom every time he doesn't get his way gets really old after about 30 seconds of it. Now, granted, you can mute them, but I just don't want to play with people that don't get it. We're here to have a good time and relax and have fun. And if you're just going to be a douchebag, I don't have time for you.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So, have you played any of those games at all? Or I don't... Your game style seemed quite different.
Yeah, I haven't played any of those games.
Do you at least have a general idea what it was that we were talking about?
I mean, yeah. I know of them, but it's like I've always been more of a single player guy. With very few exceptions. Right now, the only real exception is Splatoon. Okay. That is a multiplayer game
it's like
series
Overwatch.
that I mean, it's I think it's better than Overwatch.
I actually do agree, because the that entire mechanic is new.
I just love the inking mechanic. It's a lot of fun. Hey, speaking of games that I play on the Switch, that are also, but in this case, available on other platforms. Have you ever played Puyo Puyo Tetris?
I have it.
You do?
I have it on the DS.
No, you have...
Puyo Puyo Fever.
Right.
No. I'm talking Puyo Puyo Tetris.
I have seen it. I have seen it, but I haven't done it. But yeah, I know that series, and I've seen a lot of it. Again, friend Josh. He has a bunch of those, so whatever I'm missing, he has, and whatever he's missing, I have. It's really funny.
Yeah.
So,
Because I know you like Tetris, I would say, either get it on PS4 or it's coming to PC. Get it there. It's a lot of fun. It's Puyo Puyo and Tetris together.
yeah, so it's just spongy.
Some of those. Well, I mean, getting used to Puyo Puyo is tricky. For me, at least, because it's very unique. It's Dr. Bachnik Mean Bean Machine. It's the same game, all of that. But like some of the game modes that combine both Puyo Puyo and Tetris together can really mess with you.
Yeah.
Especially the one where you play as Puyo Puyo Tetris. You play both Puyo Puyo and Tetris on the exact same board. Oh man, that is such a mind trip.
Interesting. Did you ever play Super Puzzle Fighter?
I own it, but I haven't booted it up. I got it from a Humble Bundle once, so
I had that on the DS. The DS that used to have I don't know if they still have it, where the advanced games will fit in it. So the original DS. So the advanced games will go on the top, and then the DS ones will come up in the bottom. So at the top on the Game Boy Advance, I had Super Puzzle Fighter, because I also had that in a separate system too. And then at the bottom, I had the regular Tetris on the DS, and that was always on. Just like, what's else he doing? Which one? Oh, okay, is that one? But I love that mechanic. I also had that. Yeah, so I guess Fever was on the original DS, because that's as far as we've gotten. I think the furthest I got on DS was the Lite, the DS Lite, and then I stopped. After that, it had no interest in the 3D one. And yes, you can turn it off. It's a waste of money. And they're like, well, why don't you get the 2DS? I'm like, at this point, I've already gone past the DS. So I would rather have it in front of me on the TV. And I know a lot of it has to do with just age.
Or on your iPad.
Well, now I have things on. Well, like Animal Crossing. Yes, I'm still playing it. I'm level 80 now?
I don't know.
I haven't missed anything. I love that game. But I had it on my phone, and then I transferred it over to my iPad, and now when I go back to the phone, I'm like, the phone looks so small. So I would rather have it on the iPad, but if I can do it on the TV, even better, because I don't know if it's an age thing or whatever. I'm tired of staring at a little screen. I would just rather have it on the TV.
I just realized I never redeemed the code for Super Puzzle Fighter, which is why I should probably do that at some point.
You should. Go. Get it. It's fun.
I mean, technically I own it, but I just never claimed it. So.
Oh, thank you for the Humble Bundle that you gave me.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forget about that. So, yeah. So.
Yeah, that's what I've been working on the whole... So the last month and a half, because that came out the end of January. Monster Hunter came out at the end of January.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because before that, Don was going through the remake, the Zodiac remake of Final Fantasy 12.
Still working on it.
Still working. Well, again, life just kind of blowed up at once, and we had a bunch of stuff going on at once, and then just had no time, and then whatever extra time we had, I guess that's the bad thing of just having a one PS4. If he's playing, I can't, and vice versa. So I'd been watching him play a lot of Monster Hunter, and then when I can, and in weird odd hours, I'd be able to play. And but yeah,
usually it's you play for a while, and I start to read. And being old means I have to take my glasses off because I can't read comfortably with them on. And then it's, could you look at this and tell me what's going on? Yeah, hang on. Oh, God, now my eyes have to adjust again. Okay, I can see it now.
Well, that game is... it's a high learning curve. It's... For being a Monster Hunter game, it is actually pretty good for as an entry point. it is still, it's a Capcom game. And I don't know, I guess because I grew up with Capcom, it's a very Capcom game. And it's just, oh boy, there's a lot of stuff going on at once, and it doesn't quite handhold you. I mean, it's a lot better than it was before. But,
yeah, like when I just going back to the best friend cast, so many times because one of the hosts, Wooly, he's never played Monster Hunter, so when he's like complaining about this one aspect of Monster Hunter World, Pat would just interject and be like, "Dude, you don't even know how, you have no idea how good you have it."
I've heard many stories from Josh. It was just like, oh my goodness. It's like, well, in order to do this, you have to do this, that, and that. Why? Because? Like, come on, people. I mean, then again, you know, Nintendo is 2018. They still don't know how to do voice chat. So, I don't know. Must be a Japanese thing. So, it's like, come on, people. So, but again, I'm happy that it was accepted as well as it is. It's a fun game. So whatever system you want to, if you want to wait until the PC version, very much get it. We are already out of we're never gonna pre-order a game like ever again, and this was the closest to. I mean, we got it day one. So,
well, we just didn't go for the whole pre-order shtick. It was...
Yeah,
I ordered it so that it would get here on day one. That's the extent of the pre-order.
Well,
Not
yeah, because...
get this version for $355 and...
Well, our big thing is
I'm tired... keychain and whatever
I'm tired of getting games that are unfinished. You know, where it's it's like, no, if I wanted to play a beta, I'd play a beta. And a lot of these games are just broken right out of the box. And it's just and I'm very much into physical as well. I want to make sure, I still have a bitter taste. We didn't get two, though, so...
Hold on. Are you meaning to tell me that certain game publishers have taken the mindset of release first, patch later?
Or if they even patch at all.
Pardon me, Bethesda much? Now, the one thing,
no, because...
The one thing I'll say for Bethesda is that even though their games are
broken,
a little buggy, being generous,
buggy, that's the size of a freaking truck,
still epic.
Yeah,
but it's to the point there are people that enjoy Bethesda style RPGs, whether it's Fallout, whether it's...
And then you wait until somebody in the mod community makes it playable again.
Yes, and that's frustrating, but man, they're good games.
Hey, question.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the Switch version of Skyrim? Speaking of bug fixes?
Oh, I've heard many things and then nothing.
Okay.
What happened?
Okay. So, funniest thing. So, apparently, the Switch version, in terms of bugs, is the best version because Bethesda finally fixed a few of the game-breaking bugs that they never bothered to fix in the other versions of the game.
Of course.
Although it's a scaled-back version because they couldn't put the full game in.
Well, it's graphically scaled back, but
they scaled the textures way back.
Skyrim sold really well on Switch, much to Bethesda's surprise. And in fact, Bethesda has never supported Nintendo before. Mm-hmm. Until the Switch, and now it's
which was surprising that they had that announcement.
Yeah, and now Bethesda's like, hey, our games are selling pretty well on the Switch. And a lot of companies are saying, hey, our games are selling well on the Switch because apparently the whole portability thing is a big enough of a draw for people. And,
outside of Japan, too.
Yeah. And it was actually... just want to briefly mention this. It was recently announced that the Switch did indeed surpass the Wii U lifetime sales in a matter of 10 months.
Yep.
Which is actually...
I was going to say seconds.
It is the fastest up to that point in any game system.
Yes. Yeah, which is really good. And Mario Odyssey is like one of the best selling Mario games in recent memories because it already sold 9 million copies.
We start over again,
and
Josh's,
so it's a real, it's a real novel. So it's a real novel concept. Make a good game, sell a lot of copies,
Yeah,
Oh.
and you don't need
imagine that.
and you don't need any sort of microtransactions.
Oh, that's an entire separate podcast.
I just
Good.
just want to briefly say I love the fact that the Mario Odyssey story came out the same exact time that EA said they were going to bring back microtransactions.
Yep.
Because it's like because there's so many people online who are supposedly in the industry who are like, oh, games are getting too expensive and we need these to survive. It's like, no, you don't.
What a load of crap
And
that
it's
is.
like,
We could literally do an entire podcast on
Wait,
this.
because
Yes.
EA became the multi-billion-dollar behemoth that they are through the microtransactions they
Guys.
just started doing about 5 years ago.
Guys.
yeah,
Please.
no,
We could have an
they need
entire podcast
They
on
need it.
this. One last thing, because you were talking about Switch, and I think the last podcast was Super Mario Odyssey.
yes.
We did see it again. Our friend brought it over. Our friend brought it over. I think it was for New Year's,
I think so.
and we saw it playing. And then we just over the past weekend. Because they had boxes for us. Yes, moving boxes. Their son was playing it when we got there. His son's 5, gonna be 6, and it's really, really cute how they have an assist system, and I've never seen it in play, and it was
Oh yeah, the hat.
perfect. No, just the assist where it gives you like it, instead of outright killing you, it will pull you back to where you were and then give you like a little timer and tell you, okay, you have 4 turns left, 3 turns left, 2 turns left.
Oh, right.
So it's kid mode. So for him being 5 years old, he can sit there and problem solve. It won't make it easier outside of you won't die, you get pulled back. So he'll fall into the lava and go, huh. Then he'll fall into the lava again and going, okay, something needs to happen because I can't make this jump. And then all of a sudden, this cog thing is underneath him and he starts moving it. And then he gets pinned underneath. Like, okay, he still have another 3 lives. Okay, hang on. And then he'll go back to the platform and then do something, and it will give him his 6 or 7 lives back. Like a little, like almost like a pie chart thing. The pie chart fills. And then he goes, and then he problem solves it. He'll get his moon and whatever, and then go on to the next thing. And I'm like, this is how you do a kid's game. Because you don't exactly dumb it down. You just put a separate system on there. So when your kids are playing, you just hit the system on there, and then they get to learn as opposed to just a straight up handhold. And it's like, that was just brilliant on Nintendo's part. So
yeah, it's a really good game. By the way, I just want to admit that I was wrong. I thought Mario was going to get all the Game of the Year awards. Turns out it was Zelda. I was actually surprised they gave it to Breath of the Wild. I mean, I'm not disagreeing because Breath of the Wild is just.
I think probably because of short
it's
time frame.
fantastic.
Because when the video game awards came out, it was like maybe a month after Odyssey had come out, and by that point, everybody played the hell out of Zelda.
You see, I thought that's the reason Mario was going to win, because usually it's the games that get released closer to award season that win, because people kind of forget the games
People were still probably
that came.
playing Zelda, because didn't they have another like expansion or whatever just before that as well?
Yeah, they had a few DLCs. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, it was hard to choose between the two, but like, I would choose Zelda over Mario, but they're both fantastic games. So
Cool.
So Nintendo had a good first year for Switch, and they're being rewarded. So
Yeah,
that's what you want
happy.
that's what you want to see.
Well, that's what I had said last year. What I had wanted was, they were doing a risky move. It failed spectacularly with the Wii U, and they could not afford another fail of that magnitude, and that they just pull all their eggs in the basket and said, all right, let's go, and it paid off. It's still not a system that I like playing, and I've seen it many, many times. The games, I've always loved Nintendo games. I mean, as much as I've talked about them, I just can't get into that system. So it's just...
I understand.
I just hope, I am praying that the big influx of all the people that have bought it, that there's more of a market and not that just the Nintendo heads bought it. So
I imagine it's not just the Nintendo heads because just the Nintendo heads bought the Wii U and we're already passing the Wii U. So
no,
I think it's more than just...
what I mean is that the big influx, because there are no more shortages, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm just hoping, I'm hoping that it's there and it just ebbs and not drops down, because it's having lived through what happened with the Dreamcast, because the Dreamcast broke almost every record in terms of selling, and it was dead in the year. So my hope is that it survives, because Nintendo has a much stronger lineup, a huge backlog, and they're smart where they're finally bringing a lot of stuff over to the Switch. Because for people that have missed the entire Wii U lineup, or the last one that they had was way back when, the Wii, or even earlier than that, they're bringing a lot of those games back. Why not? Nintendo's the only company in the entire world that will make you buy the same game 6 or 7 times, and people enjoy it that they bought it 6 or 7 times. So that's my
Speaking
hope.
of, if you own a Switch and you never bought Bayonetta 2, buy Bayonetta 2, please.
That's Max's waifu.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Max's waifu. So I've never played a Bayonetta game. I'm just not into that style of game.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. So, all right. So hopefully the next episode will not come out 2 months later. But either way, thank you. I can be reached in Twitter and YouTube at Arsenette. Let's see, Instagram, and on my website is Rambling Rican. It's ramblingrican.com. Don, where can they find you?
Currently Twitter only at DOMNHAL.
Domino. William?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at 2D2Will. Alternatively, if you just want to see my video stuff, you can follow me on Twitter at 222 Productions. Or alternatively, you could also follow at 2-2_com, because some guy got 2-2 even though he's not using it.
Cyber squatting. What?
Either way, thank you for listening, and I should talk to you soon. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.